Guten Tag viewers, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we've got some German tools to look at, unbox, and talk about. So was recently turned on to some of the German tools by some of you viewers and some of my friends on Instagram. Basically this is my first experience with German tools. I've got some from basically, as far as I can figure, the two big main German tool manufacturers, which is Hazet and Stahlwille. So we've got two 1/4-inch ratchets, one from Hazet, one from Stahlwille, and we've got a wrench set here from Stahlwille as well. Right off the boat, I know that a lot of people that talk about Stahlwille and the pronunciation say Stahlwille. That would be pronouncing it in English, but since it's a German tool company and I'd like to try to pronounce, I know a lot of you give me hell about my pronunciation of the Japanese tools, but redneck here in South Carolina, I'm doing the best I can. I took a little bit of German in middle school, so I do know that W's are normally pronounced as V's. So looking online for pronunciation from native German speakers, everywhere I've looked, it has been pronounced Stahlwille. So we're going to call it Stahlwille. We're not going to say Stahlwille and sound like a bunch of uncultured rednecks. So with that said, let's go ahead and get into it. We've got the 415 QRN 1/4-inch ratchet from Stahlwille. It is a soft gripped 80-tooth ratchet with a locking drive on it. It has a low profile selector switch. The back drag is not very low, but it's not very tight either. I'm sure with more use it will loosen up. This is a FOD ratchet. If you don't know what FOD is in aviation, FOD stands for foreign object damage, I believe, foreign object debris, one of the two. But basically, when I was with Snap-on, I had an airport. I serviced some aviation technicians, and they needed different ratchets than normal technicians have, and these are made by Snap-on, makes them as well. They're a FOD ratchet. Basically, the difference is with the Snap-on FOD ratchets, in place of the two Torx head screws here that hold the faceplate in place, the faceplate is riveted to the ratchet, so it's not serviceable by Snap-on dealers. We have to replace the entire ratchet if there's an issue with the mechanism. The reason they do this is because in aviation they do not want any risk of any foreign object damage or debris. Say in point, one of these tiny little screws on the faceplate of a Snap-on ratchet worked to back out while the technician was working and fall into a jet engine or some other critical airplane componentry. That would be a very bad thing, especially with a commercial airliner. And if had engine failure, went boom, fell out of the sky. So one good thing about the Stahlwille is it is already a FOD ratchet. They use a C-clip, circlip, snap ring here and here under this plastic faceplate to secure the drive mechanism in the ratchet body. So really nice about that if you're an aviation technician. Really smooth, really fine tooth. I believe it's a 4.2 degree arc on this 80-tooth mechanism in this ratchet. I haven't used it terribly much, but in the time I've used it, it's been really enjoyable. I don't find it bulky or unbalanced or any real big negatives about it. Like I said, I do like the big selector. I do like that it's mainly flat and recessed. I do like the locking aspect here. You don't lose your sockets, extensions, etc. It does have a nice soft grip on it. I know a lot of people, it's all personal preference whether you get a hard handle ratchet or soft grip, but I do, especially as I get older, I do like the soft grip. It gives me a little bit more to grip on too, and in the winter months it's not freezing cold in your hand. So We're going to take a little better look up close with the macro lens a little later on, but we're going to set this aside for now. Now we'll talk about the Hazet. This is an 863 HP. This is part of their Hyper, I'm not exactly sure of the pronunciation, series ratchet, which is their high tooth count ratchets, rated to 120 Newton meters. This is a 90 tooth ratchet with a 4-degree arc swing. Go ahead and open her up. Pretty neat little packaging. Like the Stahlwille, it is a soft grip ratchet. The grip is not quite as big. It's not as bulbous. It's a little more slender. I do like the shape and size of it. Like I said, 90 tooth ratchet is a lot louder, and it does have a little bit more back drag, but again, haven't used it enough to really loosen it up. I'm sure that'll loosen up with age. It's not anywhere I can find on the package designated as a FOD ratchet, but looking, I believe it would qualify as one because there are no external fasteners again on this to fall out. It appears it's just got a snap ring circlip in here that holds the faceplate and the guts together. Really nice finish on it. I do like the satin finish here, and then the polished chrome on the back side of the head. It is a really nice looking ratchet. Again, like I said, pretty good grip on it. Not bulky or bulbous or awkward to hold. A lot of reviewers like that whole feel of the hand thing, but it really does feel pretty well balanced and not overly bulky or odd shaped. Haven't got to use it a lot, as I said before, but pretty sure it's going to be another winner. Real quick comparison, the head is quite a bit smaller width-wise on the Hazet compared to the Stahlwille. As far as thickness, they're just about the same. One thing that I've noticed on the Stahlwille stuff, and I've been told by people, is they are finished quite a bit more roughly. You can see some of the forging marks. You can see more of the sanding grain, grinder grain, where they were dressing the ratchet after it was forged. But again, we'll take a look at that a little more in depth once we get the macro lens out later in the video. Last item just came in yesterday. This is the Stahlwille 20-2. This is the Stahlwille 20 series wrench. It is a deep double box end offset metric wrench. This is the first number, the 20-2 of the set. 20 denotes that it's a Stahlwille or a Stahlwille 20, which is the series of wrench, which is this double offset deep box end metric. The 10 designates it's a 10-piece set, so that's what we've got here. So that's one place that Stahlwille does not spend a lot of money on packaging. Plain cardboard box, all the wrenches just stacked in there. We don't have any kind of organization to it or any tray with it. Not that that's a point of it's not a show of lesser quality or anything of that nature. It's just something that pointing out. Like with the ratchet, it just came in a plain plastic bag. The Hazet was packaged a little better in a nice little box, but what's the packaging matter? You open it up, throw it away, and get to work with it. So back to the wrench set here. We got 6 mil all the way to 32 mil here in the back. This being a double deep offset box end wrench set, probably will not see a ton of use. Main places that I've used this or found them useful is in replacing shock absorbers in a strut assembly. They are good for getting down on the nut on top of the shock strut, where you can get a socket on top to hold the actual rod of the strut from twisting when you're undoing the nut to get the top hat off of the strut assembly. Outside of that, I'm sure I'll find other uses for it, but that was the main reason I had the old Pittsburgh Harbor Freight set that you saw when I went through the Maximizer Tool Cart tour video. So again, I don't know how much use they're going to get, but rather have them and not need them than need them and not have them. And the Harbor Freight set I think was like 12 or 13 bucks Labor Day weekend plus a coupon. This set of Stahlwille wrenches shipped from Germany on Amazon.de. I believe the set ran me about $90 with shipping from Germany. The ratchet here, I want to say it was like 30 bucks for both of them. Again, going off memory, I will put the actual prices here on screen if I'm way off. I'll try to leave a link in the description to these items, but it's kind of hard to link Amazon, JP, and DE for some reason. So, we're going to take a better look at these wrenches. One thing I talked about earlier was the forging and the rougher forging and the way they leave these wrenches and how they finish them. They are not a polished chrome. They're finished in a satin, which I do not really mind. But again, you do see the tooling and machine marks on these tools. There are some areas where you see some of the raw stamping still. And we'll probably go ahead and get the macro lens out here now just to take a better look at these. And then look a little bit better at the ratchets before we end out the video. I can show you real quick the 32 just because of how massive it is. Be a little bit easier to, if it'll focus. There we go. That's a double N 30 and 32 mil. So if you wanted to take the CV axle nut off of your Subaru, you could with this. I don't know if it would hold that kind of force to break it loose though, but it'd fit. To the macro lens, now we can get a really good up close look at these Stahlwille wrenches. Here's a little what I was talking about that rough forging and finish work. So as you see there, you can see there's a line and a line, and you can see the forging on this wrench. They're not perfectly finished and dressed and chrome plated and beautified like, say, a snap-on wrench would be. You do have lots of little imperfections in them, and I'm pretty sure that all these wrenches are basically hand finished. They are hand ground and dressed, and you can see there's still all those lines there, if we can focus, from where it was on the belt sander, getting all those burrs and nicks and smooth them down. I mean, it's just as smooth as can be to the touch, but it looks very rough. Really nice machining on our open end, or the box end, I mean. There's a couple little areas, especially on the smaller inches, where the offset comes down and meets the ring here. Or it looks a little bit crusty, not finished quite as well. You can see some of the forging in here as well. Again, really roughly finished, but they're still smooth. I mean, they look rougher than they feel. It's a little odd. So we're going to get the 3032 out real quick just because it's the biggest one and everything's a lot easier to see on it. Here's again, you can see it's kind of a hammer tone looking finish in here. And you see all of this where it's not been perfectly smoothed out. But the broaching on the box end does look very precise. On the larger wrenches, I did see a little bit of weirdness on the smaller sizes. Let me see if I can get in here. There we go. Yeah, on some of these smaller sizes, they don't seem to be perfectly center stamped. I think it was the 7 or 8 mil side that was a little wonky looking. Sorry about the focus here, guys. I've got a really shallow depth of field that I'm in focus with on these, so slightest movement forward and backwards gets it out of focus. And autofocus does not work with the macro effectively. It likes to hunt for focus, so just try to bear with me. And the 10 and 11, I saw a little bit of a weirdness. Let's see if I can locate that area. Yeah, right here. Yeah, right here on the 10 and 11. Looks like they ground a little too much there, or else they just left a high spot here on this ridge when they were grinding and dressing that. Just, you know, stuff you don't see with Snap-on or Mac normally. A little bit different when dealing with this Stahlwille. They do finish a lot rougher, that is for sure. But as long as they grip a fastener and turn it out and don't round it, you know, that's the main deal. So we'll move on now to our ratchets, get a little bit better up close and personal look at them with the Hazet Hipper 90 tooth. You can put your finger on the back here to stop your drive if you do have issue with it wanting to turn back with you when you're loosening something. Another thing that I like about the Koken stuff is the drive comes through the back where you can put your finger on it to start a bolt, you know, if it's too loose. But yeah, I really like the profile of the ratchet and how the handle tapers in. Really good looking ratchet. And finally to the Stahlwille. And again, we're talking about the forging. I don't know if this is going to come through. The glare is right there on it, but there's like a little circular pattern. You might be able to see it right there. Some more signs of the original forging. And there is that nice smooth faceplate. Again, I'm pretty sure it's a composite plastic, if I recall correctly. And you just got snap ring here and here that hold the guts in. And again, we can see that low profile, big, nice switch, easy to get with your thumb. A E-tooth mechanism. And our push button lock. And the soft grip handle. Like I said, not quite as aesthetically pleasing as the Hazet. I wouldn't like that to taper in like the Hazet, maybe a little odd, bulky right in here, but not too terribly much so. Again, this one does have a lot less back drag than the Hazet, but both I'm sure will loosen up well with use. They're pretty much brand new at this point. I've barely used them other than light testing, try them out on a couple of fasteners. Haven't really turned them into daily drivers yet. Real quick size comparison before we go. Like I said, the Stahlwille is a little bit thicker in the head, width-wise, especially down here. A little bit thicker in the handle too, not by much. And that's basically it. So with that said, hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.